influence of Western silhouettes in the Indian hemisphere. And to spark off this discussion, I'd like to call upon our panel of lovely ladies, Ekta Rajani, Tanya Kaveri, and Pearl Shah. I'd like to call upon Ekta Rajani, fashion director at my personal favorite magazine, Grazia.
So, if I understand the topic correctly, we're talking about how the West has influenced their construction and the silhouettes in an Eastern space. This is a very interesting topic. It's an academic topic. It's also a very social topic. We have at Fashion Weeks all the time when we're waiting for the shows to start. For the longest time, I think there was a sense of almost emulating the West. In the early 90s, right up until the early 2000s, when Fashion Week started to take their presence in the country, we looked westwards and we kind of copied them. I think it was just blatant copying with a little bit of an embroidery happening here and a little bit of a addition happening there. But I think what has happened in the last 10 years in this country is very exciting and very inspiring. I think the future of contemporary Indian fashion is bright, because what has happened in the last 10 years is we're not looking westwards for the influence. We're loving and appreciating what we do here, but we're adapting that to what I understand to be a global lifestyle. If you brand that as a Western lifestyle, then that's perhaps what we're doing. So for example, if you have an urban woman who is on a scooter every day going to work, or she has a whole bunch of things to do. She's not just sitting at home. She has hobbies. She's getting out. She's doing a whole different set of things. She is adapting her wardrobe to facilitate so much in her life that she could not do maybe in our grandmother's times. But now it's not happening blindly. So while you will shop at a Zara, what's beautiful to see is a lot of Indian designers using Indian fabrics in a Western context. And I think this is creating a space of a contemporary Indian design that is very exciting. This is what I have observed in the last 10 years. And while some of the things that we see look odd, because when you're trying to blend two cultures, two lifestyles, two mindsets, things are going to look a bit odd. But I think through the experimentation, there are some leaders in this field, designers I would say, who are doing a stunning job. I have my personal favorites in the country, and I think each of the ladies here will have theirs. But I think that we're living in very, very exciting times where we have stopped looking westwards for a blatant inspiration. But we're using our mind, we're using our creativity to see what is local, how that fits into a certain lifestyle that we are defining as young people in the country. And it's leading to new design, which is very, very exciting. And I'm personally a big fan of this space.
So next we have Tanya Kaveri.
I think that this is something actually I feel like which has happened in the recent times, probably maybe more than it was there earlier in movies. There is awareness, actually, more than anything else. I would say that today people are so interested in global fashion, like everybody, more than I guess it was there earlier. And I think it has a lot to do with like social media, and it has a lot to do with fashion magazines. It has a lot to do with like Bollywood celebrities wearing international fashion brands, which is why it has come to a time where we use a lot of actors in their personal wardrobe wear a lot of international brands. But today there is a lot of place in movies to use these international fashion brands, and I feel like there's so much option. That is the main thing, that there is so much option to work with, because so many international designers are making such interesting collections that can create a beautiful wardrobe for an actor, for a character in a film, which is actually, I'm also doing that right now, and it gives me so much freedom to think and put an interesting look together, in a film for a character, especially when a character has is a character that is from especially when say like just to give you an example, I'm doing a film in which the actor is someone who's based in London, and the entire wardrobe is been selected from like different brands, international brands. But I'm also kind of mixing it up with a couple of Indian designers who are making, just like how Ekta said, young Indian designers who are making stuff that is interesting, slightly Indian in its approach, but still kind of can be placed in a global market, So I think that it is a major move that has come about. Yeah.
Next is Miss Pearl Shah.
When this question came to me in my inbox, it instantly took me back to my first year of fashion design at NIFT, where we did fashion history. And it was really fascinating for me. There was this slide that the fashion history teacher put out, and it was a Roman statue. And she said that the costume was called a palla, and kind of linked it, to the modern day sari, which is called pallu. And so what the point I'm trying to make is, to me, silhouettes and fashion and all of this is closely linked to trade. And like Tanya said, right now we have this whole, complete global perspective. I think the internet has a lot to do with that, and it's the same thing, like in, post Chandragupta Maurya, if you look back, it was, the Romans were trading spice with the Indians. And, we've got this costume come about. Or 200 years ago, the Parsis were trading opium with the Chinese, and you see the influence of Chinese embroidery in the Parsi Gara. So, to me, trade and silhouettes are very closely linked to each other. And, of course, there's pop culture. And pop culture is like global. In the 60s, you had this fantastic music and the hippie movement and all of these cool little silhouettes. Like the mini turned into a tight little kurta with the churidar, and the bob, went past cultures. So for me, this is very exciting to understand how, and as a stylist as well, like every time I style a shoot or whatever, my reference is constantly pop culture, or there is a mood that we put together, and and I love fashion history, so that's extremely exciting.
So Ekta, I think that most importantly when styling today is almost helping a designer. At times there are stylists at even fashion weeks where they help designers to actually, I think, edit their collections, almost like say that beyond the point. I mean, I don't really use a stylist, but I try to edit it on my own.
Started off as a stylist.
Yeah. It's just that I think that styling today has somewhere streamlined it. For example, that when Tanya speaks about picking up clothes, we've done that also. But we were always torn between picking up clothes, getting them altered, making clothes, putting it together, and it was crazy. So today I think that when you're picking up clothes from various designers and putting it, and then you there's somebody else who can streamline or tailor them or make them for you as well. So that there's a very clean, what should I say, there's I think a clean career today. It somewhere marries together, but sometimes it doesn't, But what do you think the role of a stylist? Is it going to continue to be this important, which has just started? Or you think somewhere will start fading off and becoming like, like today, then a stylist will become a costume designer, or a stylist will becoming a designer, or you think that it's here to stay and help?
I'll answer this in two parts. I think there's always going to be a crossover, because I think a creative person needs creative outlets, and if someone has as much passion as you do, like you said, you constantly want to work and you constantly are thinking of the next thing. There are people like Neeta and you and her. I mean, she started off as a stylist, she's moving towards costume design. So I think that's very individual. I think people who have that much creative energy are going to find different avenues to explore. That's not going to stop. But I also think that there is going to be both that exist, and this is the reason, because I think the role of presentation and the role of individuality has come into play very recently in the way we present ourselves.
Yes, I agree.
So when you think of us dressing, 25 years ago, everyone pretty much wanted to look the same. If you stood out in a crowd, it wasn't a good thing, culturally, socially, because you look at how you dress also from a socio-cultural point of view. Today, it's the opposite thing. Today, you want to stand out from a crowd. You want people to notice you. The sense of individualism in our culture has, because, think about it. Whether you're taking selfies or you're on Instagram or you're making such an effort for so many hours in a day to put your stamp out there, which is where the role of a stylist comes in, because a designer will definitely work with his or her look.
That's right.
But style is about how you can play with separates, does it reflect who you are, does it reflect a part of your lifestyle. Today if I'm someone who is, very, I believe in sustainable style. Let's assume that that's my personality, my lifestyle. I eat organic food, I'm part of a sustainable cycle. I'm going to seek designers who do organic clothing. So that will reflect in the way that I dress. If I am drawn by glamour, mainstream glamour, mixing it up will project me as different from somebody else. So the stylists do come into that space to help you establish your look, give you a couple of tips on how you can separate yourself, seek your own personality. But I think that the overlap will also happen from time to time for the people who have the excessive amount of energy that the two of you do.
To me, I feel styling it's all to do with your personal style. It's all to do with your personal style, because how
His
you
voice
are
doesn't need it.
is how you would dress. Because I've had friends who are possibly very good with their career, but somewhere down the line when they go back home, they're very casual, and it comes out on their clothing too. So for me, I think styling is what you are and your personality as to. When you walk into a room, before you talk, it's the walk which speaks.
Correct, but just to go back to how Manish ended his conversation, where you will change. So today you feel like dressing up in a certain way. 2 weeks from now, you're attending another event in a certain space. You need a little bit of a stimulation. You need a little bit of an inspiration. So you flick through a magazine page, or you consult Style Cracker. You post a query to them. You know what you want, but you want to fine tune it. You want to refine it. Stylists are around there looking for things to mix and match, looking at things at different budgets, looking at how to put it together perhaps in a different way. And you will know when it resonates with your own personality. Nobody is going to be able to force anything on you. It's a matter of personal choice. But you know that when you're talking to someone and you want to push that for yourself a little bit more, you will, you talk to someone, what they say resonates with you, and it's only then that you will wear what they're suggesting. It's not just going to happen like that.
I think also a stylist in today's terms actually is sometimes such huge help. For example, I think 2 years ago, this whole phenomenon has started that an actor is going to then now go and promote their movie. So they want five outfits in a day. And I remember freaking out on my assistant. I said, what is this? What are we getting into? I thought our job was over. I have wedding lehengas to, I'm not going to sit and now provide outfits, and she's rejecting them or she's wanting them. I thought the film was over. She says that no, but she wants to continue the look of the film. I was like, where is this started? Because the design fee remained the same. And it's almost like another film that you're doing. And she's today she wants an Indian outfit, or tomorrow she wants a Western outfit, and she's sending these back. And I was like, but you are an assistant, and you've got to be on this set of another film. So when stylist, to me, I was like, thank God, because
And like
so I
you
think
said,
they help you in
you're
that
focusing
sense.
on your business. You want someone else who's focusing on the look for the star. You've done your job. In fact, both our ladies here are queens at promotions, so they should actually talk about how the styling role and the
because I think that for a costume designer, Neeta, for us it was never the promotions also not we're going to give clothes. I was freaking out. I remember. Yeah, I was like, please, this is something that we can't get into. So that's so thank you for getting into that, and heartfelt. And so Tanya, the question that I had for you was, so as we discussed with her, that sometimes roles interplay, or they kind of marry into another career, which is interesting. It's also a part of growth, or another stylist can grow.
Just a small thing. I just realized one thing, that it is Tanya Kaveri, celebrity stylist and costume designer. I would actually put it as celebrity stylist and film stylist more than a costume designer, because I am somebody who is styling a character in a film. I'm not constructing for him or her.
Yes.
I'm putting a look together, you know. So that is something that's very different, you know. I mean, even though in Hollywood movies, even though when they do that, it's still called a costume designer. You know, it's tagged as a costume designer, but I would say it's a film stylist, you know.
Yeah.
So that is something, that is a huge difference.
So what do you enjoy more now? That was my question.
Actually, because I have been, just like you have, I've been a movie buff as well, all my life. I think, you know, my mom will vouch for that. I used to not go to school sometimes because I used to be like, I'm going to finish this film at 7 in the morning and then only go, you know. So it's only been a year actually that I've started doing this, which is getting into movies, and I find it very exciting because I find movies exciting, I find
surely.
characters exciting, you know. So to be able to merge both these things that I love, making people look beautiful, you know, and like putting an interesting look together, and then doing that for a character, what better than that, you know?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree. So Pearl, for you, the question I had was that since you're so interested in costume history, and then somewhere that you're also such a celebrated and busy stylist, do you sometimes feel that knowledge or that interest that you have, you can't really put that across so much into what you're doing?
Actually, I started off, I'm passionate about magazines, which is why I've been in magazines for so long. And I think magazines give you the freedom and the versatility.
Yeah,
I think that's what differentiates an editorial stylist from a film or like promotions celebrity stylist. And that's why I love doing editorials so much, and which is why I do them for fun even sometimes now, just to let out my creative spirit. You know, I just call for a bunch of clothes, and I'm lucky enough to have designers who indulge me and work with a photographer. And you know, it's really fun that you art direct, it, and you know that's what I miss, I would say, from what I was doing to what I am doing right now. I think that's the only difference. And also your question about like you know, I don't style who I am. I think you have to be very versatile as a stylist. I think the difference between a designer and a stylist is that you can, like a chameleon, change your style from one to another depending on what you're after. So if my mood board was something, then I would be able to create that look regardless of my personal style. So I might still go home and go to bed in pajamas and look like crap, and it doesn't matter because, you know, I can create like the American hustle glamour or make it grunge or make it whatever. I think that's the big difference.
And I think what's amazing and what's so nice for stylists is that they can put maybe 4 designers work together and make it look like an outfit or make it look like a personality. I think for me, that would be the most exciting part for a stylist, because all of us as designers have a look.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I think that is the most interesting thing. So for a lot of the youngsters who are here today, this is a great alternative career which could start and, you know, lead to something else.
But also, like right now I'm styling, for example, I'm currently work in progress with the Lakme Fashion Week Stage 1 designers and helping them style their collections. And I was just like chatting with Ikta about it. So it's really interesting because when I'm interacting with designers, I notice that everybody's just focused on a garment. You know, whereas I think that's the difference with people like Manish or Neeta, because, you know, you have the, like, I don't know what you say, the full look perspective, where you're looking at it like a line from head to toe.
Because we started with
Because we
movies,
started with movies and styling. Whereas I think this is really good, like, take home for designers, is that you have to visualize it like a line and not just at one garment. I think that's the big issue right now, is that people are not visualizing like a head to toe look.
I think stylists also just help. I mean, since we're talking about the role of a stylist versus the role of a designer, I think it's also about putting something into a context, because very often, you know, somebody, I mean, for a lot of designers, for stylists like her who work with fashion weeks as well, you know, somebody is doing Indian wear, somebody is doing Western wear, someone's doing the middle category of fusion. somebody is doing something periodic, somebody is doing something futuristic that you haven't seen before, contextualizing that from the hair to the makeup to the shoes to the right kind of accessories, to not overdoing it to a certain point so that it looks ridiculous, pulling it back, editing the entire collection down. Because today the emphasis on presentation has increased because of the visibility. Think of it, in 2 seconds your picture has gone global. Anyone can make whatever they want out of it. So there's so much of an importance required. And you have 2 seconds to get that right. So you have to plan it and you have to have someone editing it completely.
Okay, my question here is, styling has become the new profile for every entrant in the industry, in the fashion industry. Every kid you speak to, what do you want to do? I want to become a stylist. All right. Now, as stylists, there is a definite overview that you have for the profile. But then there are varied areas to that profile, Is it that students can get into those varied areas, or is it that they need to know just an overview? Like anybody who gets into fashion designing wants to become a designer, whereas there are so many overviews to designing. So what do you feel about that?
Today, styling cuts across several categories, like you've mentioned. There's advertising, there's print, there's film, there's personal styling. So I think for someone who wants to begin, if they have the clarity at that age, I'm guessing everyone graduates at about 20. This is what I would suggest to people. I would say take a year off and do as many internships as you can. Explore what works for you, because while you might like styling, you might realize you are better with costume than you are with personal, or you are better with film than you are with print. Or magazine, because with magazines we have a lot of considerations. We have to be on trend. We have to also represent the best of East and West. We have to balance out our advertisers from the the new people who are coming into our space. It's a tremendous balancing act, every page, every product. So it becomes a very different way of approaching styling. So I think that if someone is interested in the field and does not have a specification, it's nice to get out there and intern as much as you can, at least for a year, because you will sense that I'm better on a set. I'd rather be not closing pages, but I'd rather be running to a tailor, altering something, running back to the set. So it's for a print, for example, and Manish will tell you this, when you're doing a TVC, when people are walking and talking and you're for a personal appearance, you have to get your fit right. When you're shooting for a print campaign, you can pin something from the back, you can tape something from the back, you can cheat in 100 different ways. So a stylist who's approaching a look from a personal appearance point of view or a television point of view, you have to look at the garment from a 60-degree angle. For a print, you could cheat a lot, and then there's Photoshop, of course. So I'm just saying, you have to get out there and you have to explore the options, and there are many options. So you'll know what your calling is once you're out there checking all these options out.
Every time someone from the media calls you and interviews you, I think you get this as well. Who do you think is the best dressed actress? Do we say who is the best dressed actress, or do we say who is the best stylist?
I think also there are sections of the media. There is the better informed part of the media who will ask you different questions, and then there is it's like, whom do you want as Prime Minister of the country? The answer is not as simple as that. Oh my God, they all have such different roles. You have to analyze it. You have to think about it. But you want a 2-minute Maggie answer, which is not always, there are too many layers to that answer. So it really depends on the platform you're answering that question on. Is somebody intelligent enough to take it for what it is? Can you detail out that answer a little bit more? I think these are the easy questions that you have to just put up and,
Okay, in terms of styling, when you have to style an actor for a particular event or a particular look in the film, we all know, I know, that sometimes some bodies cannot adjust to a particular concept of a cut. So in those cases, as designers, when we work, we say, okay, this is it, and we're going to cut it and shape it and tape it and give it to you. But as stylists, there are many options. So how do you kind of walk that thin line of being able to convince that actor? What does it take? Does it take just that many number of garments, or does it take for you to sit and make them understand? And knowing what your line is, knowing your techniques. I think this question I'm asking because it would help my students a lot to understand what it takes.
I think in terms of a personal appearance, the actor that you're working with, and then you source accordingly. So body type wise, what the event is, etc. And you have a couple of options that you as a stylist are convinced with, and you feel that will work on the actor. And I mean, out of personal experience, I've always seen that if I pick up 8 options, I know for a fact that 4 of them or 3 of them will work on the actor. And then if it's about convincing the actor that I think that it's going to work, and I feel that that's the right silhouette for the actor, and that is the right look, then I think it's just about sitting down and convincing the person. If they don't feel that that is something that is not going to work, I think that personally I work with people who've got a great aesthetic, most of them at least. So they understand, it's about sitting and talking to them, and I think things have changed now. A lot of actors are very approachable, so they do understand where you're coming from. This is when you're talking about an event, and you always give people, actors stuff for events that is close to their personality, But of course, when you're working on a movie, again, you work with options, that you give them, and then you have to explain to them that this is the character, and this will work for the character, and this will work for the film, So it does a lot of times take a certain amount of convincing, but I think that when someone hires you, there is a great amount of trust that comes with that, So I think that eventually they will always listen. Yeah.
Celebrities, they hire stylists for everything these days. I mean, I've heard I've heard stories where they've hired a stylist because they're going to the airport and they know the paparazzi is going to be there. Like, I don't know how true that is, but I've heard. So, but how much of an awareness do they actually have about fashion and style themselves? Like, do they need to have an awareness, or I mean, since they're acting and that is their main focus?
That's a very personal thing. Certain celebrities are actually interested, and they will look into things, and they will see the new trends and the new shows. And then there are certain celebrities who completely rely on their stylists. They don't have any idea what's going on in terms of what's the new trend and what are the new silhouettes and what are the new colors and they will just completely give in to the stylist. So there are 2 different kinds of celebrities, And about the airport looks, there are lots of celebrities who like putting an airport look together. They kind of thrive on like every single time they step out. But there are certain celebrities who have it innately in them, a lot of them, like Sonam, she doesn't need anyone to put an airport look for her. She can walk out in her pajamas and it'll be a statement, because she'll do it interestingly. So that's.
But do you prefer like your clients to have a little bit of awareness? Is it easier, for you to style them as well?
It's interesting both ways. Sometimes when you have someone who knows, and who's aware and who knows what's going on, it's interesting because then there's communication, there are discussions, there are ideas that flow. But then there are certain people, and it's fun sometimes when a person doesn't know at all, and they just let you do your thing. That's also great, Like, I mean, I work with, recently, it's been a year, I started working with Madhuri Dixit, who's been there for years now. And I was a little bit wary because I was like, oh God, she's so senior, and what if she has her own inputs? She's somebody who just gives in completely. She's not 100, she's a 200%. She'll just let you do your thing, and that's amazing, right? For like a young girl person styling somebody who is a legend, and she just gives in. So it's amazing. Yeah.
How important are critic websites to you guys as stylists? Like, does it really make that much of a difference when one of your, celebrities is trashed or praised so much, like on a critic website?
I think actually these websites make a bigger difference to the actors than the stylists, because they are the ones who are actually going up every day, checking out what's going on. I think stylists actually don't look at it as much as the celebrities do. You know, stylists, designers don't really care that much. I think it's the celebrities who are actually thriving on it.
But to add to that, I think it's fun.
It is
I think it started a dialogue on such a democratic level, and it's just created. Everyone's so interested in what everybody's wearing all of a sudden, and even young designers are now getting a platform. I mean, earlier you would only want to go to the established names, and today you see designers who are 2 seasons old, and people are responding so positively to their clothes, and it's a real big high to a young designer who has never had a chance to have a celebrity pick their outfit and wear it and have such a great response. I think it's just making us look at our dressing much more, which is great for our profession, so I'm not complaining.
I met an actress last night who was telling me that, oh my god, it's so much pressure that I've also started not going out that much. So there's always a flip side to it, because I think the websites are just getting absolutely crazy. You cannot repeat a belt, you can't repeat a shoe, and then they kind of circle a dress that this person bought the same dress, but it's a collection. I mean, Dolce & Gabbana can sell in Italy, they can sell in Dubai, you can get it from wherever.
You just have to hope that there are moderate influencers around you that keep you sort of, because if you take it too seriously, it's going to create an impact. But I think you have to take it with a little pinch of salt and just realize it's also creating a dialogue, it's also giving a lot of new people a space. It's also fun sometimes, but then when it gets a little dark, which it can get, because anyone can say anything on the internet, you have to know when to switch off. I think
the very organically flip side to this for a designer could be if he starts taking it, or he or she start taking it so seriously and saying that X, Y, Z are wearing my clothes, and and then that work, which is the thing that you've got to tell these students, that even if celebrities wear your clothes, you've got to yet work hard.
Today we have a new concept of image consultancy. So how is a stylist different from an image consultant?
I think image consultants are very similar to personal stylists. And that's, I think, what Style Cracker does at some level as well. But I remember a few years ago, image consultants will also go to the extent of creating a color palette for you, pick out the colors that work for you. They'll create an outfit for you based on what you do, what your profession is, what your career is, where you're going to go, where you're going to be seen. So corporates really find image consultants handy, because right from which haircut to get, to what hair color will suit you, to what silhouettes work for you, to what colors work for you, I think they kind of will cover the whole gamut and help you create a full wardrobe from date to night to event to airport to everything.
there is a theory on certain professions and what works in a certain environment, if you're in a corporate space, if you're in a certain space. So image consultants have also researched, their studies and their expertise will also have a certain more detailed knowledge on certain, areas of work. In the beginning not in the beginning of my career, but somewhere midway through my career, I used to work for Raymond as a group, and I was there for 3 years. And as soon as I quit Raymond, my boss, who was heading the company at that point, he said, I want you to talk on behalf of Raymond at the IITs. And I was like, I don't know anything about how to, I know fashion, I don't know how to. So he said, you're smart, you will read up. I've picked up 3 books, so they will tell you how a corporate person has to dress, what the tie needs to be, where the tie needs to end, how much of the cuff has to be outside, etc., etc., etc. So I have actually spoken to 400 men, 2 girls, because that was the IIT ratio at that point, about corporate dressing. And that would be more a role of an image consultant, because it's a little bit related to the other part of the world as well, which is corporate life and things like that.
You're trying to conjugate the international brands with the folk. So is it a kind of strategy for the industry and trying to carving boho chic look for the celebrities or for the movie specifically?
If you're talking about a movie and you're talking about a Bohemian Chic look, that really depends on the character, and if the character needs to be that, and that depends on the script. It doesn't have to be it's not that you're trying to get international and Indian brands together to always do a Bohemian Chic look. You will not always have to do that, I could do a completely westernized look and still add certain Indian designers, in that look. And it won't have anything to do with a Bohemian look, for sure, yeah.
Do you feel any kind of limitations in being a film stylist rather than being a fashion stylist in a very fashion full-fledged world industry?
No, because I wouldn't think of I wouldn't think of limitations because they're completely two different entities. You know what I mean? When you're doing an appearance, of course there are certain limitations. There are certain limitations in everything that you do, every job that you do. But I wouldn't think of it like that because I feel like what an appearance or an event will let you do. Sometimes a film won't let you do, but what a film will let you do sometimes that an event can't.
If you had one piece of advice to share with all the aspiring stylists out here, what would it be?
Open your mind, read a lot, read the news, know your movies, be keyed into pop culture because it's really important. Be really hardworking. So I know this is lots of advice, but it's the most fun when you start at the bottom and climb on top because I find that a lot with interns. They come in on the first day, and because Instagram has turned all of us into stylists, it's not really true. Be patient, and it will. The more you read, the more you'll grow.
You look really young. How did you start a career as a stylist?
I started off quite early, actually. Every opportunity that I got, Vinita ma'am, I don't know where she is, but she was my teacher in SNDT. Every opportunity that I got to work, I just ran and I did it. I just wanted to be on the field and I wanted to work and I just wanted to intern. Actually, I would say that I was lucky enough as well, to get that opportunity, to be able to do that. Strangely, Archana, I don't think any of the Style Cracker girls are here, but Archana was the first one to give me the chance to, she was a friend of mine and she was like, you should come work with Vogue, and that's how it started. And Pearl was there as well when I started interning. So every chance that I got, I just started working and I worked and I worked and I didn't even finish SNDT. I did 4 semesters. On my 5th semester, I got a chance to do a film and I was like, oh God, college versus moving on a movie set. And I was just like, I'm just going to go and do it. And I never came back, I wouldn't advise that. You should finish what you start. But that's how I started doing it. And I just took every single opportunity and I worked and I worked and I stayed up nights and it was great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.